Okay, thanks, and welcome to the discussion on threats and opportunities within IT security and wealth management. We've got Stephen, or maybe you can sort of a 30-second introduction to the background.
Yes, my name is Eldo Babiana. I work here in Geneva for SIS Group, which is a financial institution acting in wealth management, asset management, and private equity. So I have the charge of the cybersecurity of our group, but also business continuity and IT risk management in general. So I have some years experience in that domain, and yes, I'm happy to be here to have this open discussion regarding the risk our industry may face with, particularly in regard with cyber
I'm actually an external asset manager, so my future isn't as bad as my background has been in private banking, managing large investment advisory teams here in Geneva and Zurich in the UK, and I've recently, about 2 years ago, set an independent organisation, and my focus is very much on trying to improve the security, as you say, with regards to the communication with the clients. And I think this discussion now will be far more the communication with the client end as opposed to the internal to the companies and the opportunities there, the threats there. So what I've seen over the last 8 to 10 years is a major or significant increase in the reliance upon more visual forms of communication with clients within private banking and wealth management, and even within the different parts of the relationship with the client. I think things are going quite well, but I'm slightly concerned that things are going full steam ahead with the controls not necessarily keeping up. I mean, have you seen from where you sit a significant increase in the types of interfaces with clients which banks are using? And do you think the controls are actually keeping up with the applications?
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that since we have more wealth people, the number of potential clients is increasing, and then we have to find the right solution to serve our clients. The other point is also that we have also people, rich people who are younger, and they have some expectation in terms of technology, in terms of accessing their banking service, their data, which are at a level very higher than what we observed in the past. So on our side in private banking, we have to find solutions for them. And the providers, generally speaking, follow up the market, and since the demand is increasing, the number of solutions also is growing. And I would say that yes, during the last years, the systems, interfaces, solution, technical solution for satisfying private banking client is of course increasing.
Absolutely. Well, look, the need is there, the technology is there, and the solution providers exist. So you see a lot more in terms of video messaging, compliant messaging, and apps that can control and archive and manage the relationship. You've got the continual battle between the needs and desires of the client, the needs and desires of the relationship manager, and the ability of the institution to adapt to that pace. So you hear a lot of things about relationship managers taking things offline and doing things in non-compliant methods through LinkedIn, whatever else, and they're being shut down. So I see a lot of vendors who have got what look like good solutions and they struggle selling to the market. And it's not because the technical the relationship they have with the firms and it's because the banks and the relationship with the asset managers or whoever is not very good. So they're making a cultural leap into areas that they're still not comfortable with. So I don't see them doing yet enough that is good. The stuff out there, they are moving, but they're still way off. And I saw Merrill Lynch putting in place something like Cell Trust last year, text messaging. text messaging we thought was 30 years old, right? Why are they doing this 30 years after, his launch?
But it's fast away.
Yeah.
That's the extent. So what you see, there's a large number of applications out there. There's different client demand from the young guys to the older guys to, and the bank, sitting in the middle, saying what do we take these or and how to actually implement these different methods. So I mean, do you think that there's sufficient planning for planning by banks to say, okay, well, try to match the marketplace with the client needs?
The point is the following. Nowadays, we have few solutions which are directly tailored for private banking. Generally, we have to go through some adaptation. So we take some technology or some solution already existing, and we see how those technology could fit with the client needs. And I would say that developers, providers are quite receptive and open to try to find the good trade-off or to make the adaptation to make their solution online with the private banking industry. But if we talk, for example, about core banking systems, most of the product on the market are products coming from even investment banking or retail banking. And then the adaptation goes quite well to have the typical private banking functionalities integrated. Now, I guess the good point is that some tools dedicated for external asset managers, for example, are already there, and then the convergence is becoming something a little bit easier. And on the other side, the bankers also are more open to invest a little bit more to have some solutions which are suitable to their business. So I guess we are in a phase now where technology, clients or the bankers and opportunity are converging, and the solutions are becoming more and more suitable to the expectation of private bankers.
The role of the private bankers is an important one because having worked on multiple consulting projects to sort of understand how to bring technology into firms that they hold that source. But that is has been historically the case with every service provider comes in. Whether you're selling art as a consulting firm, you're selling technology as an experience, it's the relationship managers that hold back the success of the project. However, I think the right convergence is coming, so progression, the understanding around the benefits of technology is being chipped away at. But we shouldn't forget that most relationship managers are probably in their 50s or 60s, right? They've done the business a particular way and they've been successful and lived a good life in doing it. Change is hard to accept.
Do you think at the management level there's potential lack of understanding of the risks involved and the technology involved which may hinder the approval of systems coming in?
I would say here in Switzerland, let's say since 5 years, there is a pressure from the regulator, which is becoming a little bit heavier, and that brings the management to have a good level in terms of risk appetite. The point is that generally speaking, the risk metrics are based on what are we going to lose or what are we going to pay if we have to face with a major risk. Now, internally, I just mentioned that our clients are younger and younger, but the banker also, the generation of new bankers is also coming in the market, and most of them are people who are moving inside the institution. We have several asset managers, for example, who would like to join the relationship management teams, some compliance officers, some risk manager as well. So they are coming with a new vision and maybe a better level of understanding in terms of risk management. And then the message is also becoming clearer to the top management. And the question that they are raising themselves is not only what are we going to lose, but how could we be better to serve our client, how could we be better to comply with regulation, and how could we face with the cyber risk simply. Because we are in the cyber world, we use high technology to serve our clients, so we have to think about the operational risk and the regular risk we have to face with in the cyberspace. So I guess that the learning curve of the top management in terms of risk acceptance, risk appetite is growing as well.
Yeah, it's growing, but it's coming from a low base. There weren't many technologically savvy directors on boards until recently. But if you, again, from a consulting perspective, when you do those projects and you seek to understand how they make impact, how they can deliver success, it requires that leadership level engagement and understanding. But that's still coming, it's emerging.
If you go back to maybe 10 years ago, the confidentiality was a whole mail account. And before then, there was a numbered account, which not there these days. But yeah, so clients who live in developing countries, Latam, parts of Africa, even Asia, there's a very real concern concerning any kind of confidentiality leak, where if somebody found out about the two guys on the road had X amount of money, blackmail, kidnapping, extortion was a very, very real threat that happened regularly. Now communication is increasing in different ways, in different channels, whether it's voice, video, electronic, or maybe. And you see clients now wanting that high information flow, but are still as concerned about security.
Yes, of course. I guess technology is coming in private banking as a tool to increase performance. This is clear, and to satisfy also the client. But we have people who are better educated, and they know also which risk they are taking when using high-tech tools. So, generally speaking, we have legal advisors who ask clients to sign some waiver, for example. Okay, now I'm okay to make some transactions in an electronic way. Then, when a client has to sign this waiver, I guess he himself asks which risk finally he's facing with. And in the other side, we say that, okay, the client accepts to take the risk, but we have to minimize the risk that the bank is going to support. So I guess on both sides, people are more and more educated, and they understand better which kind, the level of exposure of their data, the transaction, and so on. So I guess terms like man the leader are becoming more and more popular, even on client side than on the banker side. So I would say that the increase of the place of technology in our business is definitely an opportunity, is definitely something positive. And I guess that people providing such kind of service, so the bankers, IT teams, security teams within private banking institution, are well equipped to understand what they are doing, and also to understand how they are going to serve the client without, 10 years ago, security was, okay, let's put firewall everywhere, let's control communications, and let's reduce interaction with outside. Now we say, okay, we have to allow people to communicate with the bank, among clients, with third parties, and make sure that we know what is flowing around, how data are protected. Let's have some traceability means, some integrity to be sure that the data flowing is correct, and we know who has access to it and who is able to change it. So I would say that nowadays people have a better view of how to provide solution to secure technology means in place to increase the level of service and operative service between the bank and the client.
There's one area where this falls down for me in terms of sort of cyber security practices of wealth managers be dealing with, let's say, the richer elements of their client base, and it comes back to what I presented earlier. So banks see human risk as probably the number one element, but if they can build a process around technology and they can understand and talk if they're dealing with what they can't do, because there's a certain rule about the number of idiots that you always find in a room, right? You can tell people 100 times and there's always those certain category of people that will always make mistakes. So human behaviour can't be ironed out. What they do is they educate the internal staff, they educate the relationship managers, and they give clients tools, but they're not educating the clients on behaviours. I've never ever come across anyone doing that. So you get the bigger firms and a number of others doing next generation courses, trying to engage clients around how to manage money and how to pass money on to the next generation and how to do X, Y, Z, but they don't ever, not that I've ever seen, educate on cyber risk behaviour, which is potentially a huge issue when you consider some of the money.
Yeah, I think the question is, do clients understand the risks? You mentioned before with regards to, yes, I agree to be contacted by X means, but do they actually understand the risks involved?
It's another point. On our side, what we have to do is to say, we have anyway, we have to try to anticipate the behavior of our clients. I would say that some times ago, the paradigm on our side was, okay, if something occurs, we have to demonstrate that the problem is not on our side. You have to be very clear with that. That was, I would say, my role. Now, I have to go one step further to say, okay, if the client makes mistakes, even if it's recognized that the mistake is on his side, what can we do to mitigate the risk? Because as you say, generally they side. But, okay, what is the level of understanding? I don't think that the problem is that they don't understand, but which kind of constraint they are ready to accept in order to really address the risk on their side. They are still in the situation where they say, okay, I am the client, I have a service provider in front of me, the banker is finally a service provider for me, financial service provider. I trust them, and I hope they will do their best to protect my asset, to protect my communication, to protect my transaction. So we have to try to anticipate some behavior of our client. That's why there are several technologies on the market, and we select only some of them to serve our client. We have to see, for example, in terms of communication, when we use a solution we does not allow encryption, we have to think a little bit. Are we going to take it? Knowing that the client is expecting that, but the level of security that we can provide is low. What do we do? So we have to think of those type of things to try to anticipate the client behavior.
For me, this is the evolution of the wealth management model, particularly if you think about a marketplace like Switzerland that had privacy before under a different environment. Moving forward, it's about digital privacy, it's about identity protection, it's about making sure that behaviourally you as a client with a lot of asset potential and therefore risk, because people want to attack that, protect it. You as a wealth manager, you're not just managing your money, you're managing your reputation, your digital identity, digital footprint, and all the set of services.
I mean, I'm quite new to the whole area, but I've now become quite aware that the end-to-end encryption is fine, app-to-app is okay, but it's the hardware where it sits, which can have malware and a whole lot. So, I mean, will there come a point in the future where it's going to be very, very difficult to have a total security for a client in the communications with them on whatever form? Is that one of the biggest risks to the client relationship management going forward?
I think communication with clients has always been a risk attached to it. The new channels make it easier, more accessible, better communication, more personalised communication, more frequent communication as and when you want. I think the risk, whether it goes up or down, frankly, I think the risk is, apart from maybe those spikes around events, changes in certain legislative pieces, I think the risk remains regardless of the technology, regardless of the means of communication. I don't know what percentage would be. There's always a risk built into managing money for wealthy people, particularly on an international level.
Yes, I'm okay with that. again, the risk level itself, or risk identification, risk management, as you say, remain at the same level. But today, I guess that the mitigation solution that we can propose become to be seen on private banking side as an element for differentiate ourselves from competitors. That's why, even if we see that there is a quite stable level of risk, we try anyway to be better than the others in terms of anticipating what the client may have as problem, or which kind of the level of exposure of our clients. So if we focus on solution, yes, we are still in a phase where we have to develop the solution that we can propose.
So things are developing very quickly. It's hopefully controls will. Any questions for the panelists?
Yeah, I have a question in regards to what Mr. Mariala said about the issue of having a hard time finding solutions which are customized for your industry. And I've heard at this stage Temenos and EFG International in October talking about the wealth management industry from the strategy officer, so from a very global, worldwide point of view. And they were highlighting how a wealth management company, and actually this came in discussions I think we had the other day when we met, wealth management companies need to deal with the regulations across so many different countries in which it counts where the data is stored, where your client is, and where the person who your client is talking to. So you have like so much across of jurisdiction and legislation that are across that I guess that may also be a problem for an innovation provider to provide, unless they have the muscle to solve this on a global scale. So to what extent do you think this is an issue and it's an obstacle to innovation?
No, I would not say that is an issue, because such kind of transformation is not really new in our industry. You took a very good example, Temenos. They have a tool, well-known tool called T24. T24 is an evolution of the former product Globus. One of the main clients of Temenos for Globus was Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse has changed Globus in a way that Temenos guys did not recognize their product. So, but at that time, the problem was not cross-border or the mobility of our clients, but the problem was how are we going to integrate in Globus the fees calculation which are particular to private banking. How could we present some product dedicated to private banking, and this transformation arrived. And then the Globus competitors integrated also such kind of element in the core banking system, and the transition between a core banking system dedicated to retail banking to private banking has been, I would say, well understood based on Credit Suisse example. Then the evolution of Globus was T24. With T24, some other problems occurred. How do we protect data within the database? So they have to make T24 compatible with data encryption and so on. It took some time, but finally they was able to do it. Now we have new issues, new challenges, I would say that, like cross-border mobility and so on. I think that the provider are now following the transformation finally of the private banking to find a suitable solution. So I will not say that is an issue, but it is a challenge, and technology is there to solve such kind of challenges. And today, I don't think high hurdle that the technology will not overcome. It will take some time, but I guess we can do it.
Well, I think we're on a journey, right? So typically, financial institutions build technology in-house a lot of the times, or we use very singular vendors, and now we move into a much more marketplace environment where these things exist. So you need to get from a world where we build everything and we know best to one where actually there's all good stuff out there and we need to mold our model to fit that too. So not bringing stuff in and we're going to completely change it because we want to do it in a different way. You'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, we have one last question. We're a bit of time, so we'll have a quick question and a quick answer, please.
Thank you. Very interesting panel. What I'm interested in is how you see perhaps marketing security to clients, and do you make it a part of your digital offering? So basically, what do you think is the way forward to work hand in hand with the customers?
The short answer is yes. It needs to be built into the marketing model because it's part of the proposition, or it should be. If it isn't, you're missing the trick. Because actually, people have large fears around the lack of identity protection, security. And as I mentioned, wealth managers, as far as I'm aware, are not training or educating clients, other than giving them solutions and a few straplines around what they should do about usability. I think it's, from a Swiss perspective, particularly if you look at how this industry was built over here, it's built on those foundations of trust, stability, and protection. So absolutely, in a digital age, it needs to be adapted.
I think from within, I worked at UBS, Deutsche Bank, actually here in Geneva, Barclays in London. I've never seen the marketing of IT or the cybersecurity in any client presentation at all. To me, for me as starting an organisation which I want to be different, I want that to be a key feature so the clients can see me that, from my perspective, that there's all the communications with me in any shape or form are highly secure. So that's why I wanted this discovery about a year ago and trying to find different ways to make that communication as secure as possible. Clients, I think, are demanding it. As things change so quickly, I don't see anybody else out there really saying, look, when you deal with us, everything's secure, not just physically, but also from an electronic perspective as well.
And there's some good consultants out there now that will do sort of your digital footprint, and they'll tell you exactly where you're distributed across the web, the dark web included. That should be part of the onboarding process for most wealth managers moving forward. Where are you at risk? It's not just financial investment risk, it's digital risk.
The demand is clearly there, and yes, the adaptation of the web management is on the road, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you.
so thanks a lot for this very